Good morning, students. How are you all? Fine. Very good. And dear students, now is the session of economics as normally it happens every day at this time. In the previous video session and in online session, I had started discussing about the first major component of aggregate demand, that is called C component or consumption. In that very session, we have already discussed what is called consumption, what are the two main types of consumption called autonomous consumption and induced consumption. We have also discussed about the relationship between the level of income and the level of consumption graphically as well as numerically. And in the form of consumption function, we have seen that C is the function of Y, where C denotes the level of consumption and Y denotes the level of income. Since C is equal to C bar plus B by, thus we can say that C bar plus B by is the function of Y, in which C is constant, and if the value of Y or the value of B changes, then certainly the level of C will change. So in consumption function, we came to a conclusion that a positive relationship, a direct relationship is found between the level of income and the level of consumption, but not proportionately. That means the income changes in response to which consumption level also changes, but not proportionately. That means not in the same proportion but disproportionately. Most of the times it has been observed that when income increases, consumption also increases, but less than income. Why? Already we have seen that a psychological law of consumption operates in mindset of the people of an economy. So in what proportion the consumption level of an economy will change, will respond to the change in income? It will respond to the change in income, it is sure, and positively it will respond, it is also sure. But to what extent the consumption will respond or change to the change in the level of income, it basically depends on propensity to consume. So let us discuss today what is called propensity to consume and what are the two types of the propensity to consume. You know, students, when we say propensity to consume, then it refers to the eagerness or willingness of the people to spend their income on consumption. As we know, when income generates, then this income can either be spent on consumption or this income can be saved. But practically, you will find that the entire income is neither spent on consumption nor saved. Rather, a part of income is spent on consumption and a part of income is saved. Okay, so the eagerness or willingness of the people, the intensity of the people to spend their income on consumption shows their propensity to consume. If larger proportion of their income is spent on consumption, then it implies higher propensity to consume. And if low proportion of income is spent on consumption, then it shows low propensity to consume. So, when there will be a change in the level of income in an economy, certainly there will be a positive change in the level of consumption, but not proportionately, but disproportionately, depending on the propensity to consume. Okay, the propensity to consume, students, can be measured in terms of the proportion of income to be spent on consumption. Okay, so this propensity to consume of the people of an economy may be of the two types, which are called average propensity to consume, number 1, and marginal propensity to consume, number 2. Let us first discuss about average propensity to consume. If you define average propensity to consume, then it can be defined as the average level of consumption in an economy at a given level of income during a period of time. Okay, and how this average level of consumption can be measured arithmetically? This average propensity to consume, average level of consumption, can be measured as the level of consumption divided by the level of income. Algebraically, APC, that is average propensity to consume, is equal to C by E. Okay, numerically, take the example of APC. Suppose the level of income is equal to rupees 100 crore, 100 crore, and the level of consumption in an economy, suppose, is equal to rupees 80 crore. Then putting these values on the algebraic formula of measuring APC, you will find that APC is equal to C by is equal to 80 by 100 crore is equal to 0.8. It shows that 80% of the income people are spending on consumption, and one can conclude that APC in this condition in the economy is very high. 20% of income is now being saved. If this part of income which is being saved is converted into investment immediately, then there cannot be disequilibrium of aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Or you can say the money flow will always be equal to. If not equal to, then there will not be certainly inflationary pressure. But in fact, psychological law of consumption operates in the economy. Therefore, the change in rise in income doesn't lead to the same change in consumption. So, the value of APC may not be same throughout all levels of income. When there is zero level of income, then the value of APC will be equal to infinite. But it is a hypothetical situation. Already we have seen that the level of consumption cannot be zero. Theoretically, it may be expressed in terms of numerical value, but in fact it is a hypothetical situation. Always a minimum level of consumption persists in the economy, exists in the economy. Therefore, the value of APC cannot be zero. Imagine the second situation when the level of consumption is greater than the level of income, as it happens in the beginning of investment, when the level of income starts rising from zero. And in this situation, it has been researched, it has been observed that propensity to consume at lower level of income happens to be very high. Thus, imagine a situation when the level of consumption is greater than that of level of income, or when C is greater than Y, then certainly the value of APC will also be greater than 1. And at break-even point, about which we had discussed in the previous sessions, when the level of consumption is equal to the level of income, that means C is equal to Y, then the value of APC will be equal to 1. Right? Already we have seen that beyond the break-even point, the level of consumption goes below the level of income. Here, in this condition, the psychological law of consumption propounded by James Keynes absolutely operates. And in this condition, the value of APC will be less than 1 because the value of C is less than the value of Y. So students, this is all about average propensity to consume, and you can just measure this average propensity to consume graphically also by drawing a perpendicular from a particular point of a straight line consumption curve towards x-axis and towards y-axis. And if you want to measure the value of APC at that particular point of the straight line consumption curve, simply from that point you divide the perpendicular by the base. And if you divide the perpendicular by base, then you will find out the value of APC. So graphically also, if you want to measure the value of average propensity to consume, you can measure it. Okay. Usually in normal conditions, it has been observed that since people do not spend their entire income on consumption, therefore the value of APC in practical life happens to be less than 1. Dear students, the second major component, the second major part of propensity to consume is called marginal propensity to consume. Already we have seen in previous discussions that marginal means additional. So when we say marginal propensity to consume, that refers to additional change in consumption or additional consumption in response to additional change in income. Okay. Or if you want to define marginal propensity to consume, then you can define it as the percentage change in consumption level in response to the percentage change in income level. That is called marginal propensity to consume. This is the definition. Or other way also you can define freely. Meaning should be made clear. Whatever you want to define in economics, there must be exact meaning of that terminology. Or you can define marginal propensity to consume as additional change in the level of consumption in response to additional change in the level of income. Since delta denotes change and C denotes consumption and Y denotes income, therefore MPC can algebraically be expressed as MPC is equal to delta C by delta Y. That means the change in consumption in response to the change in income, called marginal propensity to consume, is equal to delta C by delta Y. You can better understand this concept with a numerical example. Suppose the level of income increases from 1000 crore to 1200 crore, as a result of which the level of consumption also increases from 800 crore to rupees 1000 crore. Then you will find that there is net change in income equal to 200 crore and there is net change in consumption equal to net change in consumption equal to, extremely sorry, I would like to repeat this example. Suppose the level of income increases from 1000 crore to 1200 crore, as a result of which the level of consumption also increases from rupees 800 crore to rupees 1000 crore. you will find that there is net increase in income equal to rupees 200 crore, and there is net increase in the level of consumption also equal to rupees 200 crore. So if you find the value of MPC, then it will be equal to 200 rupees 200 divided by rupees 200 is equal to 1. In this numerical example, it is equal to 1. But practically, in practical life, the value of MPC is not equal to 1. Rather, sometimes it is less than 1, sometimes it is greater than 1, sometimes equal to 1, or maybe sometimes 0 and infinite also. How? Suppose the entire increased income is not consumed, is not spent on consumption, then the change in consumption or the value of delta C will be equal to 0. And in this condition, the value of MPC will also be equal to 0. Okay. And if the entire income is spent on consumption, that even if there is no increase in income, suppose the value of delta Y is equal to 0, and there is increase in the level of consumption, delta C is something, then in this condition the value of MPC will be infinite. In the beginning, when consumption happens to be greater than income, then the value of MPC will be greater than 1. At break-even point, when the entire increased income is spent on consumption, then at this point the value of MPC will be equal to 1, because delta C, the value of delta C is equal to the value of delta Y. When beyond the break-even point consumption is less than income, then the value of MPC will also certainly be less than 1. Why? Because delta C is less than delta Y. So this way you will find that the value of MPC keeps changing throughout. When the changes occur, changes take place in income. Graphically, if you want to measure the value of MPC at between the 2 points of a straight line consumption curve, then draw the perpendicular towards x and y axis both from these 2 points of the consumption curve, and then divide the percentage change in perpendicular between these two at joining points by the percentage change in the base where these two perpendiculars have been joined. Then you will find that delta C by delta Y, the value of delta C by delta Y is equal to change in perpendicular by change in base, that is equal to, if it takes a shape of triangle, then it will be equal to AB by BC is equal to hypotenuse. That means the slope of the consumption curve shows marginal propensity to consume, or you can say marginal propensity to consume measures the slope of consumption curve. Okay, students, but in practical life it has been observed that the value of MPC happens to be less than 1. Why? Because the people do not spend their entire income on consumption, Certainly there will be change in consumption in response to change in income, but not proportionately, because of the operation of the Say's law, because of the operation of the Keynesian psychological law of consumption. That's why the value of MPC happens to be less than 1. But one thing is very important to know: APC will always be greater than MPC. Okay, students. So in today's session, I have discussed about the meaning and types of propensity to consume in detail, with examples also. And I would like to advise you all to go through this topic in detail, and then if have some question and confusion, then immediately have a conversation with me. Thank you very much.